Hey everybody, welcome back to Parenting for a Peaceful Home. I'm your host, Christina Louise, and with us today is Robin Von Schwartz, who is a parenting coach, and she has a really powerful story to share with you, and it's going to help you put your finger on what might be the true root cause of anxiety, depression, seasonal allergies, inflammation, autoimmune disease. Now remember, we are not doctors. We're not giving you medical advice. We're parenting experts who have dealt with this in our own family, and we're just sharing our personal experience with you and directing you to seek medical attention from a licensed professional in your area. Did I cover all that legal stuff, Robin, to your satisfaction? Good. All right. So what we're talking about today is MTHFR, which is a genetic mutation that about 30 to 50% of the population is born with. It's something that I have, and I was undiagnosed for 33 years, and it wreaked havoc on my life. And I know that you have it, and you have kids who have it. So I'm really excited to share with these parents tonight, what you were dealing with and how you got to the point of pinpointing the real root cause of you and your child suffering.
Well, initially I didn't even think about myself. I had kids who had anxiety and depression and a lot of issues. They couldn't sleep. They were stressed all the time. And so I kind of was on this mission to heal my children and to help them as best I could. So I became a nutrition coach. I became a yoga teacher. I just really started studying everything that I could. And then I ran across this group called the Methylation Warriors. And I'm like, methylation, what is that, And that's where I learned about the MTHFR gene mutation. And it's just like everything opened up for me. Everything started to make sense. My own allergies, my lifelong allergies, I started to understand them. So I went and got tested. My kids went and got tested. I'm what they call compound heterozygous. So I have two problems, two extra copies of this gene. And I learned that all of the allergies that I had all of these years could have been avoided had I understood that I had this and had I avoided certain foods that made me worse. So as far as my kids go, when you have this mutation, your body is unable to absorb folate or vitamin B9, and B9 is really important for the absorption of B12. So if you're lacking in the B vitamins, your nervous system isn't getting fed, and you're going to have also your body's not going to detox itself. So if your body's not detoxing itself, one of the things that it won't get rid of is excess amounts of histamine. So if you have a lot of histamine in your body is going to be inflamed, it's going to be sick, and it's going to be responding to all kinds of things, over-responding. You and I were talking earlier, my daughter, whenever she got bit by mosquitoes, her mosquito bites would get really huge. And I'm like, what the heck? Why is she so allergic to these mosquito bites? And then she started eating healthy foods or foods that her body required. And when she gets bit now, her body doesn't, the mosquito bites aren't like really big anymore. So anyway.
So what are some of so you had mentioned trouble sleeping, anxiety, depression, allergies. What are some other signs that people might have this genetic mutation?
So typically you will be what they call histamine intolerant because of the excess amount of histamine in your body. And if you are histamine intolerant, you're going to have a rapid heartbeat. Sometimes you might have profuse sweating. You might get motion. Are you still there? I don't see you.
I am totally still here.
Motion sickness. It's really interesting when I think of all of these things. I think of my 18-year-old daughter. She always has motion sickness, or she always did have it. She had asthma, what we called exercise or induced asthma. So all of those things have gone away when we understood that she had this issue, and we regulated the foods that she ate. When I was in the Air Force, I was sick all the time. They treated me for strep throat probably every other month. They were giving me shots of penicillin. And one day the doctor told me to stop drinking milk, eating ice cream. And I did, and my sore throat, went away. Okay, so my throat is a little sore right now. And I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but my family got together for a big party this weekend. And I did what I'm not supposed to do. I had some cheese, I had sugar, things that I know that I'm allergic to or that I have problems with. And I'm sick now.
So I want to second that. When I was a little girl, I'd get earaches all the time, strep throat like clockwork. I had to take seasonal allergy medication. I had horrible acne, extra weight on my body. Yeah. And when I went vegan and cut dairy out of my system, and I'm not recommending that anybody else go vegan, again, not a medical doctor, no judgment here, but for me personally, when I cut out wheat and I cut out dairy, weight came off my body effortlessly. My skin cleared up. I no longer got strep throat. I no longer needed allergy medication, and I never got sick. And then just like Robin this week, I had a little bit of a stressful week. I had people over. There was food all over the place. And I'm like, oh, I just want to feel normal. And I had a couple of bites of this and that, and I got a little ear infection. So it sucks sometimes to be so sensitive, but if this is what's going on with your kids and you can avoid sleepless nights and trips to the doctor and, anxiety and depression, right? It's so worth it to get yourself tested and to look into this. Now, how simple was that process for you, Robin?
When you experience feeling really great, it's easy to make changes. And then when you do something that you shouldn't do, and you experience feeling bad again, once again, it's really easy to get back on track. When I quit eating ice cream and quit drinking milk and my throat no longer was sore, I didn't have to get up every morning and get in the shower and clear my head. That was huge for me because my whole life I've taken allergy shots. I've taken 2 allergy shots a week. I was getting seasonal allergy shots, the steroid cortisone shots. Mm-hmm. And in the last 3 to 4 years that I have been eating the right way for me, I've not had to take any allergy shots. I may take a seasonal allergy pill maybe 3 or 4 times in May, which is the really bad time for me. So my body is much healthier than it used to be. And the problem is when you have a lot of inflammation long-term, it does lead to really serious diseases. Inflammation is the root of all disease. Unfortunately for my children, it affected the inflammation of their brain, which caused them to have this anxiety and depression and really not do well for quite a few years. They're both doing great now. So it's really important to understand our bodies and to get tested and know if you should be eating certain things or not eating certain things.
Yeah. Would you be willing to get a little bit intimate and just share with us, because the reason I'm asking you, Robin, is not to put you on your spot or on the spot or shine a spotlight on your kids or anything like that. So I understand if it's too personal, but there could be parents watching who aren't sure what's going on with their kid, right? Like, what is anxiety and what is depression? And, would you be willing, is there anything that you'd be willing to share to kind of illustrate how not knowing if you had this gene mutation impacted you and your children's lives?
Well, in retrospect, I can identify a lot of things that happened probably, and I'm not going to, say one thing or another about vaccinations. What I want to say is that it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. And so when my kids were little and they got vaccinated, my son had seizures, and my daughter ended up with severe eczema. And now I understand that you can have what they call vaccine-induced encephalitis, and that's just swelling of the brain because their little bodies are unable to throw out or get rid of the excess amount of toxins that they end up having when they have vaccines. So looking back, I can see how my kids were affected early on, whether it was by what I was feeding them, the macaroni and cheese or the vaccines, or just all of it added together. And so as they grew up, I also noticed some other things, but, I didn't pay attention to them. We probably didn't have much internet back then. And when they became teenagers, specifically my daughter, she got severe obsessive compulsive disorder. And you can see OCD in a brain scan. So it's a real issue. It's not something that people make up. It's something that she suffered from. And had I understood that she had this gene mutation years ago, maybe it would have manifested itself and maybe not. I study something called epigenetics, and I understand that we have the ability to turn our genes on or turn them off based on what we do. So just because we have this mutation doesn't mean that we're going to get all of, this disease. It means that we can understand what we have and make sure that we get what our bodies need. Mm-hmm. So her she's actually an expert in health and nutrition now. She's married with 2 kids. She's doing great. She's never had to take any medication or anything like that. She does suffer still from some autoimmune issues. She has some skin problems and stuff, but when she's doing the things that she's supposed to do, it gets better. So, yeah, it was really hard to watch 2 of my kids. I have 4 kids suffer through these things. And now, I feel like the MTHFR thing was the missing piece of the puzzle for me in understanding what was going on with them.
Yeah, me too. When I was growing up, when I was a little girl, I was beating another little girl up in kindergarten for no reason. I still to this day, I'm like, why did I not like this little girl? I don't know. But I was like, violent and aggressive towards her, and running around a lot of energy, and like crying a lot and really emotional and kind of lashing out. And then as I got older, even though I was like studying spirituality and wanting to be a better person, I was still dealing with anxiety and depression and up and down weight gain and this bloating in my stomach that like I couldn't explain because I was eating like a bird all the time. And I mean, my parents just kind of went through the ringer trying to help me. But what ended up happening is we were like, okay, she's got anxiety, and then she's got depression, and then she's got food allergies, and then this and this. And so I was going to like 8 different doctors trying to figure out like what the heck was going on with me. None of these doctors were communicating with each other. And it wasn't until I found a functional MD, which
I work together. I mean, everything works together.
Yes, and that's what functional MDs do, right? They're an MD, but they look at your whole life, not just your whole body, but they look at your whole life. And she tested me for the MTHFR, and it was like this light bulb went on for me and my parents, and we were like, okay, so this has been the problem for over 30 years. So I don't have to go to 12 doctors now. I go to 1, and it's awesome. It's awesome. So I just want to remind everybody that it's like estimated that 30 to 50% of us are carrying this gene mutation. So highly encourage everybody watching to get yourselves tested and to be sure and rule it out or not. Before we talk about your free gift, is there anything else that you want to cover or respond to about anything that I've shared? I know that was a big mouthful. It is kind of emotional, right?
It is, and there's so much to it. We can only cover just a little bit in this short amount of time, but there's so much to it. And if you go get yourself tested and you start studying about it, I mean, you could really make a huge difference, not just for you, but for your children and your whole family. And as for me, for my grandsons, because they too have been tested, and my 5-year-old grandson, he has the compound gene as well, mutation. So, yeah. So as far as my free gift goes, I interviewed this amazing guy, Dr. Rick Hansen, and I interviewed him just for this series. So I'm giving that to all of you guys that sign up.
And what's give us a couple of bullet points or a couple of things we can look forward to about that interview. How is that going to help the parents here?
He really shows us how to change our brain. And he shows us how to change our brain, which is neuroplasticity, and in just little tiny increments. He really talks about the small little things that we can do to change our brain. And basically what neuroplasticity is is when somebody tells you that it takes 30 to 45 days to create a new habit, that's because it takes about that long to create a new pathway in your brain. It kind of becomes an automatic pathway, which becomes a habit, right? So the way that we think, if we think in a negative way all the time, pretty soon that's our go-to in our brain. That's our first response, even without us trying. So he shows you how you can change that. And so once again, we're looking at the whole body. So it's not just one thing. It's not just the MTHFR gene. It's not just what we eat. It's kind of everything. And it's a great interview. I know that your audience will get a lot from the interview. So.
Yeah, I love that. I love the empowerment. You brought it up earlier when we were talking about MTHFR. You're bringing it up now when we're talking about neuroplasty. It's that just because you have this genetic disorder doesn't mean, or you are predispositioned to have a cancer or anything else doesn't mean you're going to get it. You can become aware of it and turn the switch off by taking simple actions consistently in your life. Same thing with your mind, right? You can take actions every day to kind of build new pathways, and that interview that you did with this doctor is going to show these parents exactly how. That's an amazing free gift. And I'm going to encourage everybody to click the link below this video and take advantage of it right away. Robin, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to share before we go?
Interestingly, when you have this gene mutation, it can affect gene regulation. So, that affects whether we turn these genes on or off too. So I just really recommend you go out, whether it's 23andMe, I'm not promoting anyone, or some other, you can go to your doctor and you can get tested for this. Wherever you can get tested, go get tested. You get your kids tested and just see what your baseline is and what you're dealing with and move on from there. So
yeah, awesome. Yay, I'm so excited because this is going to help future generations, right? Like if I've got it, then my kids got it, then they're going to pass it on to their kids. Like we can stop that cycle and take control over our minds and bodies today.
And as a parent, you can stop beating yourself up that somehow you've messed up.
Right.
And if your kid has this and there's things that you can do to help them, so, oftentimes, like you were just talking about, behavior isn't something because we've done something wrong as a parent, our child's behavior. So.
I love that. I'm so grateful for your time and your energy. And thank you to all the parents for showing up and investing this time. Click the link, grab Robin's free gift, and definitely please get yourself tested. It's my hope for you. Knowledge is power. All right, until tomorrow, I'll see you guys with another video. Bye.